So on Mr. Chippy's bench here we have on its side HMV Stereomaster 2412. So that has the stereo radio as a factory fitted item, whereas the 2411 is the same machine but has the mono radio, just doesn't have the decoder. And at that time, as I've said before, only Radio 3 was carrying stereophonic programs, and that was only from time to time, and so people who weren't into listening to classical music on Radio 3 could save £20 by not having a stereo decoder. In fact, it wasn't until the 90s that all the radio stations in the UK went stereo. I think some of these digital ones aren't either. Anyway, what we've got to do is, the amplifier's going to be have all the capacitors changed. So we're going to start by taking the bottom off. So this one belongs to the same gentleman as the Y radiogram that we've been doing and still haven't finished because we're waiting for a part. The part was dispatched from RS on the 10th and it's now about 14 days later, and DHL don't seem to have bothered to deliver it. And I'm not going to order another one from somewhere else because it's an unusual part for us. 10,000 microfarad capacitor. I've never used one before in my life, so I'm not expecting to use any more. So I don't know what DHL's problem is, but there's some of their excuses. Can't find address, van broke down. Perhaps the driver's been told off for last time and he's throwing all my parcels in the hedge. Right, let's cut its bottom off. That's handy, isn't it? Got to just move the viewfinder so I can see what we do. We've got a location of transistors and what they are, and some equivalents, which is unusual with it being a Thorn product because they do use some in-house parts. So we've got BF194, BFY52, BC187, BC108B, BC186, BC109 or 108B, AC128, it's got germanium there, OA90, BA114 and OA90. I'm going to photocopy that because I don't think I've seen it before. How handy! So on this model, a lot of this unplugs. So we can unplug the pickup, we can unplug the motor, we can unplug the speakers, this is the motor. I was lying about the other one. That's the FM antenna, and there's a bit of an antenna looping round in the case. So that should be free. All we have to do is unscrew the mains lead. So there's a P-clip with a Phillips screw. And that's it. Turn it back round and withdraw the chassis. So we've got two screws. I'll go and get a little pot to put these in. That's that. So I'll put this flat and we'll get on with servicing the turntable. For some reason he's got two auto spindles and no manual one, so So somebody somewhere hasn't got an auto spindle. So this has been locked down correctly for transit. In fact, we'll leave it like that. So what we need to do is to take the centre decal or whatever it is out. Do with something small to help get that out. So we'll use a huge screwdriver. I think we'll take the spindle out first. There we go. They're not fun to put back. And then we need to take a clip out of there. And then the platter should lift off. Sometimes they're jammed, and I've shown you that technique in the past to do that. We're going to take the auto return mechanism off, taking that clip off. We're going to take the idler off. He may have mentioned that he's cleaned this himself, but I'm still going to go through it because I want to make sure that it's done how I want it to do. He's 173 miles away and he doesn't want to be coming backwards and forwards with it. So I'll go and get a piece of paper and we'll put those out. So with the wheel, auto mechanism, yeah, I think he's done this fine. I think he has. We'll go through it anyway. Just make sure there's no grease. Even back in 1979, when I was doing the training course at HMV, they were saying, you, to be honest, you're a bit better putting oil on than the grease. So we'll take that off, clean everything off. Then as soon as this is done, Mr. Chippy can get on with that electronics. So I'm going to use WD-40 to kind of dissolve the grease, if we can find it somewhere. There. Mr. Chippy's own personal supply. That old oil goes like toffee, as you've seen before on these videos. It's actually in the best shape I've seen for a very long time, so I think the customer's done a good job himself on doing this. I get muddled up as to who said what. We put some household oil. We usually have a spray one, but this is a more normal one. On those bearings, down that hole, into the bottom of the motor, I'm going to let that go through and then we'll clean that off, because the last thing we want is oil on the drive. We'll take off this as well, and we'll make sure that's nice and free. We don't want those to be tight, otherwise you can end up with the arm going over to so far in the record. As soon as it hits this auto stop mechanism, it'll jam. So this is just a little bit tight. So I'm going to run some paper between the leaves of this to make sure there's no muck in it. So that should be sufficient to run this between those leaves. Especially if I could get it in there. Just get that in and pull it through. Oops, and not break the paper in there. I want to be able to shake this. It's still not just quite as free as I would like. Now, they don't like you to put oil on these. On the other hand, I don't want oil on the leaves, but perhaps on that bit. That seems nice and free now. So with that bit of oil which is on this cloth, we'll put it on there. Put this back. What else are we going to do? Sometimes there's a bit of a swine to fit back. I'm just going to put some oil on the spindle. So I've got my finger under that, and then we'll kind of wick it through with this. Good. Then we'll see if we can put it back together. So not on this one. What we're gonna have to do is to put a piece of string on that and pull it in. This happens 50-50 on these. I'm gonna pause the video while we find some string. Well, I still haven't got any string. We'll use some wire. So the idea here is to put that round there so we can pull on that. And then pop that back on. That's now gone in, so I can withdraw the wire. And that's back together. You know what I've not done, having done that? I've not put that washer back. So we'll take that back off again. We'll put that washer back. We'll put the bit of wire around again. Gone in again, and And then we can put the clip back on. You might need to use circlip pliers, but I've got exceptionally strong fingers. It's all that church organist part of my life. Good. So the idler wheel we're going to clean with isopropyl alcohol. Put the bottom washer on. Put that down. I think he has a spray isopropyl. I can't speak. I think he has a spray one here. Just get another piece of paper. And again, I'm going to put it on the paper, and then we'll clean the idler. At the same time, we're going to clean the platter inside the driven part of the rim with the isopropyl alcohol on the paper. Then we're going to make sure there's nothing on that motor spindle. We'll do it 3 times. Right, so carefully without touching the rubber, we'll put that back on with its thrust washer and its circlip. Will my finger be able to put that one on? No, my finger won't put that one on. I don't want to touch the wheel, do I? See if these I can't even move these rusty old pliers. Dear oh dear, where have these been? I put some oil on these, I think. Perhaps I can use them now. There we go, that's back on. Nice and loose. Put the platter back on. Put its circlip back on. Make sure this isn't jammed up. For that to start working properly, you should have to have a rotation of the turntable. Now we can't fire it up because we've dismantled it. What I will do, I will cycle it through manually simply by doing that. Right, so we'll put those to one side. And that leaves one thing, to check the stylus pressure. Well, I don't know where we've put the pressure gauge. I'll come back to that in a moment. So what we will now do instead is we'll look at the stylus condition with the microscope. So these are small Stylus microscope. Can I speak? Of course I can't. Readily available on eBay and AliExpress. Get some batteries in this one. And pause the video while we do that. Okay, so put some batteries in that. So let's just see if we can get the stylus out. They're not the easiest. They're definitely not the easiest to get back in. So we've got an ST14, which looks like it's been there some time. And I'll see if I can see what state this is in. One side looks alright. Just going to get a stylus brush on the other side. So it's an ST4 stylus. Did I say 4? Did I say 14? Anyway, it's a 78 stroke LP. The LP one looks alright, but I don't know whether it's bent. So we'll see how it sounds. They're not that expensive. I don't expect I can get this to zoom in anywhere near, but we will just give it a go. Right, so we'll now take these screws out of the back panel. And what are we greeted with? Well, the usual nasty black capacitors. Those orange ones. The LES lamps missing from the decoder. The MES lamps missing. So they want doing. So we'll change all those. Now, interesting. That capacitor has blown up. And all the works is showing. This also smells of fag. So the actual amplifier capacitors on the back panel are intact at the moment. Doesn't mean they work, but definitely the one down there has blown up. So I think it's working, but it obviously needs sorting out. So I'll publish this video. This is your part 1. Mr. Chippy will be doing this and changing all these capacitors. We've got the kit ready. If I didn't show you that earlier, that is all ready to do this in its entirety. So we've made that up ready. So what he'll start and do, which I'll do for him, is undo this. So these are 4BA. So we use a 4BA nut runner. All the output transistors are AD143. So I guess they're germanium. Never had to change one. And I've been doing these since 1979. So we've got the tuner panel there, the stereo decoder is there, and then we've got the radio and the power supply. It needs a regulated power supply with it being electronic tuning using varicap techniques. Aha! And he was saying about his little red warning light for the stereo indicator was broken. So I think we'll order another. What we do is we'll order a neon, and we'll just take the works out of it, because we can actually get these the right size as a neon. So that's where we're going to leave it for this part of the video, and Mr. Chippy will take you through all the capacitor changes, and basically it's all the electrolytics. With that, the power supply, these black ones, these orange ones, and there's a couple down here on the, moving this out of way, there we go, there's these couple in P clips here which also need to go. So there you have it. Thanks for watching part 1 of the Y Customers HMV Stereomaster 2412 from about 1971.